Welcome to the Property Guide. You're watching ET Now. I'm Faye D'Souza. This show aims to give you all of the information you need to buy property in India, whether you're buying a home to live in or you're just making smart investments in real estate. Remember, you can send in any question you have to the Property Guide at et-now.com. It'll be our pleasure to answer your questions on this show. On the show this week, our experts tell you why Ghaziabad is emerging as an affordable destination for both residents and for investments in the NCR. We'll review the Kochi market and we'll find out if there are any areas of growth and if you should be making investments in that region. And finally, a housing sentiment index by Magic Bricks and IIM Bangalore shows that home buyers across the country expect prices to fall in the next 6 months. We'll find out if that's really likely to happen. All right, joining us in the studio this week, Jayashree Kurup, Head of Content and Research at magicbricks.com, and of course Ghulam Zia, Executive Director at Knight Frank India. I love the fact that you're back this week. It's always a pleasure to have both of you. On the show in the past, we've discussed various aspects of NCR. We've talked about Noida, Greater Noida. We've talked about Gurgaon extensively. Today, I want to talk about Ghaziabad. Now, we find out that Ghaziabad prices are far lower than the rest of the NCR region, especially when it comes to ready-to-move-in inventory. Why don't we take a look at the trends in the region and the prices, and then we'll come back and talk about it. It's no secret that prices of homes within Delhi city limits are unaffordable for the average salaried professional. And luxury development in Gurgaon and Noida are quickly becoming part of the same category. Which is why Ghaziabad is fast becoming the affordable housing destination in the NCR. Ghaziabad is an hour's drive from Delhi, fairly close to both Gurgaon and Noida. The newly widened NH24 and NH58 and the Delhi Metro are adding to its appeal. According to magicbricks.com, key investment locations in Ghaziabad are Indrapuram, Vaishali, Crossings Republic and Rajnagar Extension. Magic Bricks also tells us that Rajnagar Extension prices have increased a whopping 56% in 2 years and are now trading at about 2,925 rupees a square foot. Crossings Republic, on the other hand, has seen a rise of 53% in 2 years and is currently trading at about 3,500 rupees a square foot. Locations like Indrapuram and Vasundhara have witnessed a rise of about 36 to 38% in the last 2 years. Indrapuram is currently being priced at about 5,175, while Vasundhara prices are at about 5,000 rupees a square foot. On the other hand, Bopura has witnessed an increase of 22% in the last 2 years, and prices of homes here are trading at about 3,025 rupees a square foot. All right, so that's Ghaziabad for you. Ghulam, I would have come to you first as an investment option. If I were to come to you and ask you if Ghaziabad makes sense in relation to the rest of the options within the NCR region, is that a yes or a no?
Well, it makes sense. It makes sense because what also counts as an investor is your ability to afford an investment portfolio. So if you're talking about somebody who has not more than 25 to 50 lakh kind of money to invest in, then obviously the options are limited, and Ghaziabad definitely is one of the prime possibility if you are belonging to that category.
What sort of supply are we seeing in Ghaziabad right now?
Huge amounts. Actually, Ghaziabad has always been a ray of hope to the people who couldn't afford very expensive property in the NCR, because one, Ghaziabad is a huge district. There has been lots and lots of land. Its proximity to the central business districts is, it's 10-12 kilometers, and it has many linkages to the central business district. So it's easy to commute to. The other thing was that Ghaziabad was always not a favored destination. So when it came on the property maps, it was an affordable destination. Now, if you look at the pattern of development in Indian cities, you find that most of the corridors of growth are along the national highways. And Ghaziabad has two critical national highways, the NH24 and the NH58, along both of which there's huge amounts of supply. And then there are other pockets like Rajnagar Extension, Vaishali, Indirapuram.
Is there a possibility of oversupply there? Yes. Are you seeing enough demand for the supply that you have?
I think, Faye, there's so much captive supply, demand in this bracket that I don't think we will have too much supply. It's just a question of mindset. Will people be ready to go and stay in Ghaziabad? In certain parts of Ghaziabad, it has become acceptable. Indirapuram, Vaishali, like I said, because the metro has reached it, and the ease of commute is certainly helping there.
Of the localities that you just mentioned, which ones would you recommend for someone who's going to live in the apartment, and which ones would you recommend for someone who's buying an apartment to rent out?
If you're an end user, do look at places like Vaishali, Indirapuram, Shipra City and so on, because these are places where people are already staying there and it's easier to stay there. Newer areas like Rajnagar Extension, NH24, NH58, these are areas where the values are lower. So if you're entering as an investor, you're investing very little, and already the projects have reached the possession stage. So there's a lot of supply, but there is a lot of captive demand.
Ghulam, when we talk about investments, how much of an uptick do we expect, say, over the next 5 to 10 years?
You see, as she mentioned, one or two of these locations which are, Kaushambi and Vasundhara, Vaishali, these are a few locations where the price appreciation has already happened because of metro. But on the other side, the new developments where the affordable section is coming up, whether it is Crossing Republic or Rajnagar, these are locations where you can afford the housing. However, they are not too very, would I say, accessible by the existing metros, etc. So that is where you still have possibilities of price appreciation. If your infrastructure is improving there, obviously you will get the price increase coming in.
If you're looking to buy a home in Ghaziabad, here are some investment options that could make sense for you. If you're looking to buy a home in Ghaziabad, here are properties that might be of interest to you. Zenith from the Saya Group, Jupiter from the Angel Group, Rise from Keltec Infrastructure, River Heights from Landcraft Developers, Gulmohar Garden from the SVP Group, Sanskriti from the Antriksh Group, Livingston by Supertech, Springview Heights by Sare Homes, Gaur Cascades by Gaur Sons, The Nest by Asotech, Advantage Phase 2 by ATS Greens, Mahagunpuram and Majestic by Mahagun, Symphony by Paramount, and Aranyam Valley by Wave Infratech. All right, quickly, let's take some questions. Gautam has written in from Nagpur. He wants to buy either a plot of land or an apartment in Nagpur. He wants to know which one makes more sense and if you'd give him some options. What locations in Nagpur would you recommend, Jayashree?
If he's looking for multi-story apartments, he can buy places like Manewara, Manish Nagar, Wardha Road. These are roughly about 2,800 to about 3,500, depending on which locality you're buying in. You get apartments in this price range. If you're looking at plotted options, you still have options in his range. Wardha Road and Booty Bori are places where you have plots of land coming up, and there you have roughly about 2,900 to 3,500 per square yard in a place like Wardha Road, because it's a long stretch, and in long stretches you can get a wide range of options, therefore the prices are lower. And in a place like Booty Bori, you have roughly about 7,500 per square yard. That's a little expensive, but that is where.
Ghulam, if you were to help him choose between buying a plot of land and an apartment in Nagpur, which one do you think makes more sense?
Well, like any growing city, Nagpur has also been slowly but surely moving from plot culture to apartment culture. There have been many instances of reputed developers getting into Nagpur, the national developers, and making mark, and definitely getting into the high-rise kind of developments. I can talk about Tata's, the Trill, that Tata Realty is there. You have Godrej, Mahindra's, B. Bilimoria, etc., so on and so forth. These are the people who have actually walked in, and they are doing developments which are vertical, which are high-rises. But having said that, now if we have to look at plots for doing one's own houses, then one has to really go far off. The inner ring road, outer ring road, both are today ready. Outer ring road is today, well, about 6-7 months back it was thrown open. So I would rather, if I would be there, I would rather look at some apartment rather than buying a plot.
But apartment from a reputed national developer.
That's right.
All right, time for a very short break. When we come back, we'll review the Kochi real estate market and also answer some very quick questions. Welcome back. You're watching the Property Guide on ET Now. Thank you so much for staying with us. Both of our guests are still with us in the studio, helping us make smart decisions when it comes to property. In fact, we have a question from Shaji Gopalakrishnan, who wrote in saying he wants to buy a residential plot of land in Kochi, in Kerala. He sent us a list of options as well in terms of locations. We're going to get to that in a little bit. The reason why I talked about this particular question is because we received a lot of questions from the south talking about places like Kochi. And this week, I want to take a closer look at the Kochi real estate market. First, let's take a look at how the prices have moved with Awan, and then we'll come back and discuss it.
Thanks for that, Faye. Well, residential property prices in the picturesque Kochi have moved up, but only in pockets. Kakarnad, which is the IT hub of Kochi, has seen a 14% appreciation in the property prices over the last 2 years. Homes in this neighborhood are priced at an average of 3,450 rupees per square foot. The industrial hub of Aluva has witnessed a 2% increase in property prices. The residential properties here are currently quoting at 3,150 rupees per square foot, the cheapest in Kochi. Kaddavantara, which is home to a host of government offices, is the most expensive locality in Kochi. Prices here are currently at 4,250 rupees per square foot, an increase of 6% from 2011. On the other hand, Edapalli, which is a fast-developing suburb, has witnessed a price decline of 8% over the last 2 years. Homes here are currently priced at 3,550 rupees per square foot compared to 3,875 rupees per square foot in 2011. And prices of homes in Kalur, which is close to the new international airport, have been flat, rising only about 1% over the last 2 years. The prices here are currently at 3,775 rupees per square foot. And with that, it's back to you, Faye.
All right, Avan, thank you for that list of prices. Jayashree, are you seeing a lot of activity in terms of Kochi, in terms of people wanting to buy in Kochi on the website?
We see some amount of activity, Faye. Honestly speaking, is it a huge, hot and happening place? It is getting there, but it hasn't really got there. But there are certain areas in Kerala which are doing, where the demand is very high. Trivandrum and Kochi are both big cities which drive demand. And Kochi, actually, from the time the airport has moved way outside the city, you're seeing lots of, and Kerala is a very densely populated city, so you don't have very long distances between cities. Therefore, when you're through the airport outside the city, you've opened up areas like Kakarnad, Aluva, Vaitila. You know, there are lots of places which have opened up for development, and developers have started building there. Now, bulk of Kerala's demand is driven from overseas. It is Dubai, it is the NRI market. And here you're seeing, for them, it is not where I used to stay, but where the best options are available to me. And if it is close to the airport, I think it seems to work well.
Well, Gulam, there's no denying the NRI money that comes into Kerala every year. Between Trivandrum and Kochi, which one would you bet on? Which one would you advise our viewers to look at?
Well, it's obviously Kochi. It is Kochi because of, first of all, airport. While Trivandrum is also talking about some new airport launch, etc., some studies are going on. However, the old worldly charm of Kochi cannot be denied. And in terms of business as well, I can talk about, well, here there is some IT happening for sure. The Kalamassery and Kakinad area, whether at least 2 or 3 of these buildings where IT is happening. And the smart city, which is under development, as close to Kakinad, is one location where there are going to be strong growth drivers.
If I'm going to live in the home that I buy in Kochi, whether I'm watching from across the country or across the world, then obviously I want the best view. I want a neighborhood that I'm familiar with. But if I'm investing, what should I buy in Kochi?
Well, as she also mentioned, there are these new destinations opening up, Vaitila Junction, the stretch around the airport, Kakinad, Kalamassery, where there are more of, would I say, office buildings or IT parks coming up around Kakinad and Kalamassery, but places like Aluva and lot many other destinations where new houses are coming up. And mind you, these are affordable.
We've put together a list of projects in Kochi that you can look at if you're considering buying an apartment or a plot of land. Take a look. If you're in the market to buy a home in Kochi, here are developments that our experts recommend. Aqua City by Swas Homes, Grace Villas by My Homes Villas and Apartments, Trinity World by Trinity Developers, Hoysala First by Hoysala Projects and Blue Palm by Aeon Housing. Alright, so that was Kochi. Now let's quickly squeeze in a couple of more questions. Amardeep has written in, he wants to buy a ready-to-move-in 2-bedroom apartment in Bangalore with a budget of 50 lakh rupees as an investment. Please give him some options. Jayashree, you have a lot of papers that you're pulling out, obviously. 50 lakh seems like a stretch in Bangalore, but there are pockets where it's still available, isn't it?
There are pockets where it's available. In Electronic City, we find a lot of properties that are available in this budget. And strangely...
In 50 lakh rupees, the prices come down in Electronic City?
No, it's the sizes have shrunk, and Electronic City, a lot of properties have come up in this budget, and it is an actively traded market. Whatever is on our website, we find that is the actively traded secondary market, and this 1100 to about 1300 square feet apartments, 2 BHK, is what you get in Electronic City. In Marthahalli, you get Marthahalli and Whitefield. There are 50 lakh options which we find on our website.
I'm being told by a very cross producer that it's time for us to take another commercial break. But thank you so much, Ghulam, for joining us. I'm going to make Jayashree hang around, because when we come back, we'll talk about the housing sentiment index done by Magic Bricks and IIM Bangalore that tells us that everybody across the country believes prices will come down in the next 6 months. Welcome back. You're watching The Property Guide on ET Now. Thank you for staying with us. As you can see, Jayashree is still with us, and we have a brand new guest in this segment. A very special guest, Dr. Venkatesh Panchpageshan. He's the Chief Faculty Coordinator at IIM Bangalore. He's flown in all the way to Mumbai to be with us. He also heads IIM Bangalore and CREDAI's research group on campus, and there's some very interesting findings that they're going to share with us today. A recent housing sentiment index that Magic Bricks and IIM Bangalore have worked on together, it shows that home buyers across the nation, except for Bangalore, believe real estate prices will fall over the next 6 months. Now, the analysis is based on a survey conducted across 8 Indian cities. Thank you, both of you, for coming in and sharing with us what seems to be very interesting. And this is something we've been talking about on the show for a while. Venki, if I may call you that, sure. I'm going to start with you. Tell us how this sentiment index, and this is new for India, we don't have a sentiment index for the realty market as of now. How is it different, and how is it useful for those of us who are studying this market?
Consumers don't have a voice in the real estate debate that's going on. So all the information that comes out seems to be coming either from the property developers or from the property consultants, both of whom, you know, have some stake in the game. So what we wanted to do is to bring the consumer's voice out, and that was the primary driver. The other driver was the fact that we wanted to look at the future, what's going to happen as opposed to what has happened. And so the sentiment index is, once we have this on a regular basis, will allow...
And how regular will it be?
Right now we are thinking on a quarterly basis. And again, the quarterly basis is a sort of the benchmark in most countries of the world. And once this data comes out on a regular interval, then all the stakeholders, whether it's the governments or whether it's the property developers, they can look at what the consumer is thinking in terms of ahead of the game. And therefore, they can set their planning. The governments can decide what is in the minds of the consumers. So any policies that they end up implementing or coming out with, they should be able to take this as another factor.
So what you said was very interesting. So normally when any of us as consumers walk up to a builder, he'll always tell us that, no, we've had excellent demand. We've sold 70 to 80% of the stock. There are only 3 flats left or 2 flats left. You have to book it today. Can we use the findings of this index then to be able to know the real truth about what's going on?
Absolutely. I think the consumers right now don't have insight into what other consumers are doing. And I think one of the primary objectives of this sentiment index is to allow consumers to get to know what everybody in their area or in their region is trying to do. And I think that will allow them to go back to the developer with more information and be able to, whether bargain
negotiate
or
negotiate
a better deal.
How much of this is actually going to translate into deals on the ground? If I'm reading the index and it says that people believe prices are going to come down, does that mean prices will come down?
Today the consumer is giving data. He's taking part in surveys and he's giving us information saying that I think values will go down by up to 10%, and I think I can wait between 3 and 9 months. In India, the demand for housing never goes down, and the consumers have access to funds. So it's not a crisis of finance so much as crisis of sentiment when the property markets in India go up or down. So once we have the sentiment index in place, I think over a period of time, after about 2 or 3 quarters, that's when the consumer realizes that I'm not in it alone. But they also need to understand how to use the sentiment index. If the values are, if everyone is waiting for the next 3 to 6 months, isn't it a good idea to sort of explore the market and see whether I can get good deals now? Because the consumer, the number of transactions is low, therefore I can negotiate better. And this is how the consumer needs to understand. It's early days yet, but we think it's a huge step and a very positive step.
You know, we've been talking about this for a while, but you keep saying that the rack rates, as we call it, which is that piece of paper that the developer gives you when you walk up to him, those have not come down. But they are offering deals on the side. So free parking, free registration, they waive off the, the payments that have to be made in the first year. Obviously, that's not enough. Because nobody is buying that. People don't believe that's a good enough deal. Should developers now be offering more?
Faye, we have a problem here. In 2009, when the markets crashed and the government appealed to the developers through CredI that they should be dropping rates, some developers went ahead and dropped rates. So what happened? There was a huge problem because there were already some consumers who had bought at higher rates. And when you drop the rates, those developers were agitated. And can developers afford to return money in a weak market? They can't. Right? Which is probably why developers are holding on to values, but they're quite willing to negotiate lower rates. And this is the reality in the market. I think that's how it's playing out right now.
All right, now I want to come to what I think is the most useful part of this conversation. I want both of you to give advice right now, given your findings on the index, to customers who are watching, who are looking to buy homes over the next 1 year. And obviously they're waiting. How long should that wait be? Do you believe they should wait another 3 to 6 months, or do you believe the wait should be cut short?
I think they should be definitely taking the coming elections into account. So this is going to be a period where the developers are not going to, they're going to face a demand constraint, and also post-elections, things can change dramatically. So as Jayashree mentioned, a customer who's watching the index, who is understanding what they need, can actually go to the developer and ask exactly what sort of discounts or what sort of freebies they want. So the negotiation power is in the hands of the consumer, and the developers have no other choice other than to yield to that at this stage. Post-elections, I don't know.
It'll be a completely different story. Jayashree?
Today it's a buyer's market. Tomorrow is going to be a seller's market. It's always better you get good deals in a buyer's market where the buyer's in the driving seat and saying that I want the house, but it's on my terms. Tomorrow when the seller says that it's on my terms, it'll again be a rising market and you don't get the best deals.
All right, so what you're saying is if you believe it's not a good deal, push for a better deal, but don't wait right now.
Yes.
All right, so don't wait right now. And if you're curious to find out more about the Housing Sentiment Index, it's available on both the websites of Magic Bricks and I Am Bangalore. You can run a quick search and you'll be able to find it. If you have any questions about the index, write to us. Our email ID is at the bottom of your screen. Venki and Jayashree, thank you so much for spending time with us this week. It was a pleasure to chat with you. And of course, you can find a copy of the show on our Facebook page, and you can reach me personally on Twitter. Thanks for watching.